Hello everyone, my name's Aaliyah and this is actually my first video. Arcane has been absolutely rotting my brain for the past 2 months and I just needed somewhere to share my thoughts. I've also always wanted to start a YouTube channel, so this felt like the perfect opportunity. Now, Arcane Season 2 was very interesting. When I first watched it, I gave it about an 8 out of 10. It obviously wasn't as good as Season 1, but it wasn't bad by any means. Sorry, that's my bunny. Like I said though, I've been thinking about Season 2 for a little while, and that's where the first problems started to appear. I feel like the more you think about Season 1, the better it becomes, but the more you think about Season 2, the worse it gets. And that's just really disappointing because I love watching YouTube videos about Season 1, analyzing the characters or specific scenes, and I feel like you can't really do that with Season 2 because there's not much ground for analysis. I really appreciate tight storylines like Avatar: The Last Airbender or Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, and when I first watched Arcane, I thought it would be the pinnacle of that kind of storytelling. Everything just made sense, the plots connected, the characters were complex. It was almost perfect in my mind, and I don't need media to be perfect. There are a lot of imperfect stories that I absolutely adore. For example, Ruby. I know. But Season 1 set the expectation that Season 2 would be of similar quality in terms of writing. And with the writers, the fact that they produced Season 1, I was completely trusted them, and I thought there is absolutely no way Season 2 could be bad because Season 1 was just fantastic.
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
But I was wrong. Now, in an interview with Amanda Overton that I will put in the description, she said, "And then in the second season, we also did a writer's room that started off similarly, and then, COVID happened and sort of derailed all of that. And then we ended up working from home. The team kind of shrunk down to me, Alex, and Christian." Suddenly, everything makes sense. Now, I understand that COVID affected a lot of productions, but with the team's tweets and some other interviews, I just don't understand what was going on in the writer's room and how they lost the plot so thoroughly on Season 2. It definitely makes me lose faith in the writers' team for future projects, and I hope that they bring the people that they lost with COVID back for whatever they move on to next. With the finale of Season 1, it was kind of assumed that this season would be focused on a civil war between Piltover and Zahn. Instead, we swerved into an entirely different direction, which would be fine if the new direction was well done. I feel like the writers forgot what made people love Season 1 so much in the first place. The realistic conflict between Piltover and Zahn, the complex characters, the grounded story. Kind of feels like we lost all of that. In another interview, Christian Link said, "Season 1 was focused on more human problems, such as the sibling ties between Vi and Jinx, while Season 2 became more conceptual. My issue is that they never tied up the human plot lines before moving on to the conceptual stories. This ends up making the emotional moments feel hollow and the high concepts difficult to understand. What was the deal with Viktor and the Hex Core? Was Sky a manifestation of the Hex Core, or was she real? How much control did the Hex Core have over Viktor? I don't know. I feel like Season 2 left me with so few questions. Every story beat was so clear. In Season 1, the plot was driven by the characters' choices. Their goals and motivations were clear, and the decisions they made impacted the direction of the story in a way that made sense. Because of this, we became more invested because it felt personal and real. I feel like in Season 2, the character motivations seem unclear, just changing on a whim without much explanation. I'm looking at you, Vi, and Viktor, and Caitlin, and it's almost as if the plot just keeps moving forward, whether it makes sense for the characters or not. Now I'm going to talk about a few of the characters. I'm not going to go over all of them because I don't know if I can form that many coherent thoughts, but we're going to start with Jinx because I do have a little bit to say about her. Last season ending with Jinx deciding to let go of powder, seemed like such a significant and powerful decision. Yet season 2 completely disregards it in favor of making Jinx a more palatable character. Because of this, it feels like the season 1 finale doesn't hold that much weight. And I also am not sure how I feel about season 2's finale because Jinx says that she's gonna kill herself so that she can end the cycle of violence and so that Vi can be happy with Caitlyn. Having her die at the end, just like she wanted, almost feels like the story is confirming her beliefs that everyone would be better off without her. I wish she was proven wrong. And I know that this story is meant to be a tragedy, but this doesn't feel like a satisfying or cathartic tragedy. Alright, moving on to Caitlyn and Vi. In theory, I don't have an issue with either of their arcs. I feel like they both could have been really interesting and tragic, but both arcs, especially Vi's, would need to be handled with an extreme amount of nuisance. And I don't think Vi becoming an enforcer was handled with enough care. Enforcers murdered Vi's parents, and she has such a justified hatred for them. For her to become an enforcer without it being out of character, I think it would need to be thoroughly explained. And how is it that Vi makes a decision so at odds with her character off screen? And fine, if she must become an enforcer off screen, then I at least want to see her grapple with that decision after the fact. How does the fact that she has chosen to join the people who destroyed her family, falsely imprison her, and constantly oppress her people make her feel? How does she rationalize it? Imagine a young Vi finding out that she'll become an enforcer when she grows up. We don't get to see any of this, and it makes Vi seem so out of character, and like there's a fundamental change in who she is. After Kate returns, they have one small argument, and then Vi seemingly forgives her after Kate's non-apology. Then, before the prison scene, she says, "I don't care," to Kate. What? You don't care that she got with someone else after she hit you and left you crying in a hole. You don't care that she gassed your people. You don't care that she didn't even attempt to see if you were okay after leaving you in such a vulnerable position. You should care. They needed to have a further conversation after they reunited. I needed to hear a far better apology from Kate. Her redemption was so lackluster, and Vi's forgiveness feels incredibly unearned. Now, I've heard people say that the jail scene was about Vi finally doing something for herself, when she's been so selfless throughout the whole story. But maybe they should have shown that at literally any other time. Jinx very obviously implied that she was going to kill herself, and Vi didn't go after her. That feels so out of character. Her goal throughout the entire show has been to get her sister back. I don't believe for a second that after hearing her sister is going to do something so drastic that she wouldn't go after her. After reading this interaction on Twitter from a fan and Christian Link, Vi's character assassination makes a lot more sense. So this is what the fan said. Christian, I've noticed a considerable amount of discontent surrounding Vi's character arc in the second season in the past few days. Many argue that she no longer possesses the prominence that we witnessed in the first season. And this is Christian's response. I've read that criticism. It is true that season 2 had other characters occupy more screen time. As writers, we were interested in these characters. I really don't know what else to say.
That's weird.
So, you lost interest in your main character? Okay. Now, last season, even characters like Viktor with less screen time still had fantastic character arcs, so this just feels like an excuse. I feel like even if they gave Vi less screen time, they still could have given her a better character arc that didn't go against all of her morals and the character that we've established in season 1. I just feel like they could have done a lot more. Anyway, Kate Vai's dynamic this season feels so toxic to me, which would be fine if they acknowledged that it was toxic and explored it through that lens. We all love a little toxic Yuri, but instead, the show tries to convince us that their relationship is cute, and it feels very strange. If anybody in the comments is like, oh, so you just hate lesbians because of this?
Are you serious right now?
I adored Kate and Vai's dynamic in season 1. I thought they were so cute, and I'm really disappointed that they were done dirty this season. I feel like they absolutely deserved better. Anyway, lastly, we're going to talk about Viktor because I don't exactly know how I feel about his arc. I'm a bit confused on how he went from
That is
there is always a choice to choice is false. I feel like in season 1, Viktor had very clear morals. He was against violence and wanted to use hex tech to help the people, specifically the people of Zon. Then in the finale, he decided to turn the Zonites he helped into mindless dolls, then use them as super soldiers. That shift in logic feels horrifically underexplained. And like I said earlier, season 2 is far less character driven. It feels like the story is forcing the characters to make decisions to move the plot forward rather than having them make choices that impact the plot, if that makes sense. Viktor is definitely a victim of this, and I'm not sure. I don't know. When I originally watched it, I was pretty okay with his arc. I feel like there's lots of potential within it. I almost wish they included more of his League of Legends backstory. I don't play, but I was reading up on it and it was really interesting. I feel like he definitely lost a lot of autonomy this season, with Jace being the one to bring him back to life, and I don't really know how much of the decisions he made were him making the decisions or the Hexcar making the decisions. I couldn't really tell you, and if it was him making the decisions the whole time, I'm not sure if it really follows with his character that was originally established. Well, I think that Jace and Viktor's ending is very poetic. Them starting everything together and ending everything together is beautiful. I won't pretend to understand the time travel shenanigans with older Viktor. I would love if someone could explain that in more detail to me in the comments because, I don't know, it just didn't really click in my brain. I probably have more thoughts, but I can't really articulate them right now. I saw something Christian Link said that really rubbed me the wrong way and kind of made me resent this season even more. Our season 2 is amazing. We have made you feel more than you've ever felt while watching animated characters. It's not perfect. You don't take these types of hefty swings and expect that everything wraps up perfectly with a neat bow. It grows and evolves in its own way, and it becomes what it becomes. Has any TV series ever successfully stuck the landing with this many main characters, time travel, supernatural abilities, technological inventions, fantasy world stakes, high concepts, complex relationships, and global expectations? I actually don't know. Would be quite curious to know if folks can think of any, so I can study them. This comes off as so cocky when this season had so much potential to be better. It's great to be proud of what you've created, but pretending it's the best piece of animated media ever feels wrong. And honestly, the worst part is I think Arcane could have been if this season was done right. But it is what it is. Ending on a more positive note, the art this season was spectacular. It was so inspiring to watch as an artist, and the soundtrack was also fantastic. I was playing it on repeat after I finished season 2. I definitely believe the incredible work of the animators and the musicians who worked on the show is what made the bad writing a little bit less obvious. And even though I dislike season 2, I'm still obsessed with it, as you can see, and I still love Arcane. I love the characters and the world that they set up in season 1, and there are still great moments in season 2. I think my love for the show will always be a little bit tainted with what could have been, but it will always hold a special place in my heart. Thank you for listening to me ramble. I hope my points were coherent, and if you want more from me, don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye-bye!